There is something strange about public shame now. It moves too fast. A person says the wrong sentence, a screenshot appears, a crowd forms, the atmosphere changes. And within hours, someone can go from visible to contaminated. Not illegal, not imprisoned, something newer, socially radioactive. You can feel this mechanism everywhere now. People speak more carefully, joke more carefully, desire more carefully. Even curiosity begins to feel risky. And yet, we still insist we live in a liberated age, an age beyond old morality, beyond guilt, beyond religious judgment. But look closer. The rituals never disappeared. They changed architecture. This is a glitch. Modern culture did not abolish sin. It decentralized it. Sin left the church and entered the feed. The confessional became the comment section. The priest became the audience. And the crowd no longer needs God to feel righteous. Once, morality was centralized. There were commandments, sacred text, stable categories, pride, greed, lust, envy, wrath. Ancient words for ancient forces. But modern culture became uncomfortable with that language. Too religious, too moralistic, too heavy for a world that prefers diagnosis over judgment. So the vocabulary changed. Greed learned to call itself ambition. Lust moved through empowerment. Pride became personal branding. Envy hid inside aspiration. Wrath found a home in discourse. Gluttony became lifestyle. Sloth disappeared into burnout. The behaviors remained, only the language became cleaner. And this is where Nietzsche becomes important. When Nietzsche declared that God was dead, he was not celebrating morality collapsing. He was warning us about what comes after, because once a society removes a shared moral structure, the human need for judgment does not disappear, it mutates. People still divide the world into pure and impure, God and dangerous, acceptable and contaminated. The only difference is this: now the categories move faster. Morality became unstable, algorithmic, crowdsourced, aesthetic. And once morality becomes social instead of sacred, something dangerous happens. Everyone wants freedom from judgment, but almost everyone still wants the power to judge. That contradiction defines modern culture. We say, don't shame people, while collectively building systems of permanent visibility. We say, be yourself, inside environments where every version of the self can become evidence. This is where the digital world changes human behavior at scale, because visibility alters morality. The more public life becomes, the more identity itself turns performative. You're no longer simply living. You're managing perception, curating signals, avoiding contamination. This is why confession culture exploded online. People reveal their trauma, their addictions, their politics, their desires, their wounds, not only because they seek freedom, but because visibility itself has become moral currency. To confess publicly now reads as authenticity, and authenticity has become a form of purification. But there's a trap hidden inside this. Once the inner life becomes content, it also becomes surveillance material. Every confession creates data. Every statement becomes archivable. Every identity becomes searchable. The modern person is no longer forced into confession. The modern person volunteers. And that changes everything. Michel Foucault understood something terrifying about modern power. The most effective systems do not always silence people. Sometimes they encourage endless self-expression. Explain yourself, clarify yourself, identify yourself, reveal yourself, position yourself, again and again and again, until the self becomes permanently legible to the system. This is why modern control feels invisible. It often arrives disguised as participation. The feed does not feel like a prison, it feels like expression. But expression under constant visibility changes human psychology. People stop asking, what is true? And start asking, what is safe to display? That shift reshapes identity itself. And beneath all of this, another ancient force begins moving again, the shadow. Carl Jung used this word to describe the parts of ourself we reject. The cruelty we rationalize, the hunger we spiritualize, the resentment we convert into morality. Every culture produces a shadow, but modern culture has a particularly unstable one, because we are obsessed with appearing conscious, healthy, ethical, aware, evolved, safe. Which means more and more of the unacceptable self gets pushed underground. But buried impulses do not disappear, they reorganize. And what cannot be admitted internally often gets projected externally. The person unable to face their own envy becomes obsessed with exposing the envy of others. The person unable to face aggression begins moralizing punishment. The person terrified of their own hunger learns to judge desire everywhere they look. This is why outrage culture feels strangely emotional, because people are rarely reacting only to the event itself. They are reacting to disowned parts of themselves. And this is where Girard completes the pattern. Girard understood that societies stabilize themselves through scapegoats. Communities create temporary unity by selecting someone onto whom tension can be projected. A symbolic sinner, someone who absorbs contradiction for the group. This mechanism is ancient, but digital systems accelerate it into inhuman speed. Now the ritual happens globally. A person falls, the clip spreads. The crowd gathers. Language becomes sacred. Accountability, justice, harm, danger, safety. Sometimes these accusations reveal real abuse, but sometimes something older is happening beneath the language. The pleasure of collective purification, because outrage does something psychologically powerful. It allows people to feel morally clean without confronting themselves. That is why digital punishment spreads so efficiently. The crowd does not only want justice, the crowd wants relief, a target, a sinner, a symbolic offering. And the algorithm learns this quickly, because outrage generates engagement, punishment generates retention. Moral tension keeps people watching. So the machine adapts. It learns which emotions spread fastest, which scandals sustain attention, which sinners maximize traffic. This is a prophecy. The future will not become less moral. It will become morally automated. Sin will no longer be defined primarily by philosophy or religion, but by systems of amplification. The algorithm will not ask, is this true? It will ask, does this create reaction? And reaction spreads fastest through more emotion. Outrage travels faster than nuance, shame spreads faster than wisdom, condemnation scales faster than reflection. This creates a new kind of social punishment. Not exile, not prison, disappearance. Your reach collapses, your visibility drops, your name becomes risky, your signal fades. You're not burned at the stake, you're deranked, and yet, beneath all this noise, the oldest question remains untouched. Who are you when nobody is watching? Not when the crowd rewards your morality, not when the feed amplifies your innocence, not when your virtue becomes visible. Who are you alone with your envy, your hunger, your resentment, your pride, your desire for power? Because this is where morality actually begins, not in public performance, in private confrontation. The goal was never purity. Purity is one of the most dangerous fantasies humans ever invented. The goal is consciousness, to recognize the shadow before it governs you. to see your own capacity for envy before it disguises itself as justice, to recognize your hunger before the machine weaponizes it, to understand your desire before the crowd names it for you. The future will belong to people who can face their own darkness without outsourcing judgment to the collective, because the crowd will always need sinners, the system will always need outrage, and the machine will always monetize moral electricity. But a sovereign person becomes harder to manipulate. Because they have already entered the room, most people spend their lives avoiding the room where the shadow lives. And once you see what you're capable of, you become less addicted to public innocence, less performative, more precise. Because real morality is not the performance of godness. It is the discipline of self-awareness. Maybe that is the final sin of the modern world, unconsciousness, to be ruled by forces you refuse to name. To confuse envy with justice, attention with morality, visibility with truth, punishment with virtue, sin did not disappear. It became infrastructure. And what becomes invisible becomes much harder to resist. This is part of the TOMAAS prophecies, cinematic essays that don't just reflect the world, but decode the hidden systems shaping identity, desire, and power beneath the surface of modern life. Art isn't decoration, it's intel. If something has stayed with you, leave the thought it triggered, even one sentence. And if these reflections resonate, subscribe for the next prophecy, because by the time the ritual becomes visible, most people are already inside it. And if you're drawn to the visual work behind these ideas, you can explore more of my digital artworks and original photography at TOMAAS.com.